Hi guys and gals, welcome to part 4 of this series of the 180cc Power Kit that we're in the process of building here. Part 4 is what we're going to be doing, is building everything from the cylinder on up. Now, the first part of that process is you got to get your piston rings on your piston. Now, the reason you see one of the rings inside the cylinder right now is, I don't know if you can see it, but that little gap right there, they have to be they have to be a certain measurement. Now, these rings go on in a certain order. You're gonna have a total of 5 of them. Alright, now let me come over here in the light a little better. Okay, so this ring right here is your oil ring. That gets sandwiched in between these two rings. One of these on the bottom, one of these on the top of this ring. They all go in the same groove. Orientation of this ring doesn't matter. It can be up or down. These other two rings, the orientation does matter. I don't know if you can see it on these. Trying to get it to focus. See the numbers right there on the very end? It says 112. That, because it says 112, that means that it is the top ring. This other ring says 212. Now, that's your bottom ring. Now, whenever you have numbers, or whenever you have some kind of marking on the top, that means that that side goes up towards the side where the spark plug is going to be firing, to the top of your piston. Now, if in the event that it's not marked, is what you're going to want to do, see how they're two different shades? The top's kind of shiny and the bottom's black and, you know, like dark. You always want the shiny side up. So, once you get your gap measurements taken care of, and as how you do your gaps, it's really a pretty simple formula. All you got to do, like in mine, I'm working with a 63 millimeter piston. So you have to convert that. You convert it. You times it by, or actually you divide it by 25.4. Mine's 63 millimeter divided by 25.4. Now, you use that number right there to figure out the gap on your top ring. You times whatever your number was by 4/1000ths of an inch, 0.004. For the top ring, you'll times it by 0.0045. So, in mine, the equations came out to be, for the top ring, I was at 0.0099, which is basically 1/100th of an inch. Then, or 1/1000th, or no, it is 1/100th. I don't know. So, and the next one up, my bottom ring came out to a 0.012. So basically a 12. So that's your gap. So once you know your measurements and your size, you can go ahead and start putting your piston rings on your piston. I like to start with the bottom ones first, and I think that's really the proper way to do it. Now, you'll notice I have the top of my piston marked. The reason I've done that is to kind of help me keep a visual aid of where my piston rings go. As I place them on there, I'll show you what they're for. Really, this red line right here, I drew it red to symbolize no. You do not put any of them gaps, any of these openings, over where your piston wrist pin will, or your center pin will be. These lines right here, on the, well, this line right here, that's where the gap will be for, this is so hard to do with one hand. The gap for this one will come up to right there. And then these little scraper rings, the gaps will be right there. The ideal is you do 20 millimeters apart from your ring gap. And then these, of course, will go on accordingly. You have them 45 degrees apart from each other. So anyways, let's get these puppies on there. Okay, so now I got all the rings in their respective positions. All the gaps are right where they're supposed to be, properly clocked and properly gapped. So next step is to install this in the cylinder. Okay, so what I like to do here, I don't know if you can see in there, is, well, you probably can, I can see it. I took a little bit of just regular oil and lined the cylinder real well. Poured some in a cap, poured a little bit in there, and rubbed it around with my finger. Now, remember, when you install this, it's going to be marked intake and exhaust. Your intake will go up on the same side that your cam plunger is going to be on. That will be on the top side. So go ahead and install it up in here, and then we'll go from there. Okay, there was really no way for me to do that on camera, but it's really simple. It just, as you push it down in there, you'll use your fingers and compress your piston rings as you slide it down in there. And that's it. Make sure as you're pushing it in there, push it down even. Don't go side to side. And you want to leave enough of your piston your connecting rod hole out. Or piston rod, I was trying to say. I'm like trying to get this thing nice and level. So, but once it's like that, you'll just slide it down your cylinder stud arms, and I have to pull this out. But this is the easiest way I found for installing these cylinders. Okay, now before we can install the cylinder, we have to install the cylinder stud guides. Now, if you look at them, you'll notice, let me show you, the ends of them are different. This one's got a kind of bigger beveled edge, and this has got a little beveled edge. The little beveled edge goes down towards the bottom of the engine, down here. And this will be up in your rocker cradle, the bigger part. You'll also notice you have two different sizes. They are two different lengths. Now, the longer one will go in the right side of your crankcase. Shorter one goes in the left or the right. The shorter one goes in your right side of your crankcase. The longer one goes in the left side crankcase. So, get them, and longer one in the bottom, shorter one in this one. Now, I'm going to pull it out because I want to put just a little dab of Loctite on there. Okay, in my 4-valve video, I showed how to tighten these down using 2 nuts. You can tighten two nuts together and basically you turn this into a bolt. Or you can use one of these. This is called a stud remover. It's just a socket, kind of, but here at Jiggle, it's got these little like round things in there that grip the threads on the studs. You can extract studs or install them. It works either way. It just bites right onto the threads. This is an awesome, awesome invention. And anyways, I'll show you how it works. You know, you just put it on there, make sure you're going the right way. Just slide it over your threads and turn it and it'll catch. And then just go ahead and tighten them down. See? Awesome device. This is a Pit Posse stud remover set. Once all the cylinder studs are mounted, you have to put your gasket on there. Notice it's copper coated. I've done all the gaskets in copper coating spray. So just slide your gasket on down into place. And now it's ready to receive the piston. Okay, so now we're ready to slide the piston on there. Remember, make sure your intake is pointing up. Actually, we have to pause. I forgot. You gotta install your cylinder guides. I almost forgot to install these. That would have been great. They just go down in there. All these are really for is to guide your engine, your cylinder, when you're putting it down on there. Okay, so let's try this again. Get it started, gather up your chain. Right now, I just brought it up to top dead center. Okay, I need to grab my connecting rod. Okay. Now, once you get that in there, you need to install your piston ring clips. Okay. Now, how I install these are with a pair of needle nose pliers. Trying to get it to focus here. As you can see, it kind of looks like a little Pac-Man. I put my tips on here, and when I install the ring, I put this up in the indentation, and then I use the little bent part to press up. You'll figure out what I'm talking about when you do it, but it's very simple. This is probably the simplest part of the installation. And that's it. So now they're snapped into place. So now we finish lowering the cylinder on down. Trying to make sure I stay at top dead center. Make sure my chain doesn't get bound up on me. And that's it. When I push the cylinder up, it squeezed the oil out of the, or when I push the piston up in the cylinder, it squeezed out the oil. Okay. So here we go. The cylinder's on there. It's the top dead center. It's how you can tell your mark is over here on your flywheel. You're going to have a T, F, and all these little lines. That T right there, the line underneath the T, that means top dead center. That's what that stands for. Top dead center. This line right here, it's got to go straight to that. I'm just a little bit off. See that? That's top dead center right there. Now take note. If you're doing this, like, you know, if you're working on your engine and you have a spark plug in there in the cylinder, sometimes it can be very hard to get that line right at top dead center because the compression will keep wanting to push you off of it. So I just wanted to point that out. But anyways, we're at top dead center and let's keep going with this build. Okay, so you have to put your guides on. Next, you install this side of your chain guide. Now, get the head gasket. Okay. Now we install the head. This is your cylinder head. Big valve. I can't remember. I think it's 32 and 28. Wow. That is so annoying. I'm trying to keep this propped up so you guys can see it, and then it keeps constantly sliding on me. Alright, so that's mounted. So that's what we got going on so far. Now we need to start getting some bolts and getting some torque on them gaskets. Let them create their nice little seal that they do. Get a little bit of Loctite. And I'm going to put these in just to get it. Got a little bit of Loctite on there. Okay, now we're going to install the cam and the rocker cradle. I just wanted to point out these lines right here must be parallel with that. This dot will be facing straight up. It's going to be like that. Now, when it's like that and your stator over here, or your flywheel, is on top dead center, like I showed you how to do with the T mark, that means it's perfectly in time. So when you set this camshaft, make sure your T is at top dead center, and make sure this line is horizontal with the top of this, and this is pointing straight up. Okay, now we're going to install the rocker cradle. It's got the guide pins too. Make sure your guide pins are installed in either the head or this. Take note, EX for exhaust. Okay, so once you get that secure, put your washers on. And these will be tightened down with the 12mm. Okay, so you just want to go around, give them a final torque. And that's it. They're all nice torqued down. And I just wanted to take the time to try to show you what I meant. Go sideways here for a second. That line is like perfectly horizontal, and this is straight up. That's what it's supposed to look like when it's perfectly in time. Come over here, right on my T mark. They line up perfectly. So, this engine is 100% perfectly timed. Next up, we're going to have to install the valve tappets. But, unfortunately, this kit does not come with the little bars or the tappets. So, I have to order them. So, that's where we're going to have to stop with this video. Actually, this one turned out to be way longer than I thought, but it's got a lot of useful information in here. Clocking the rings, what to clock them, what to gap them, you know, it's all in here. So, anyways, this is where I gotta stop for now. So, thanks for watching, guys and gals. I hope you enjoyed this video, even though I may tend to ramble on at times. DMartin95, visit me at www.martinmopeds.com. And you have a good one. Later on.